I'm Mark Hennick. This is So-Called Normal. Hey folks, welcome back to So-Called Normal. Today on the show I had Steven Kerzner, otherwise known as Ed the Sock. We had a really great conversation and we chatted for quite a long time. So we've got our main episode out for you already, but I want to give you a little bit of a Steven Kerzner monologue that we had near the end here, because I think there's just so much wisdom in it. So here's a little bit more of my conversation on So-Called Normal with Steven Kerzner. Well, and this seems to be a recurring theme in both your personal and professional lives, this idea of be who you are, but don't tell other people how to be, right? Be who you are.
Well, Canada is very live and let
reflected.
live.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that depression and truth tie together with me is I have to constantly separate what is truth from what is depression in what's forming my thoughts and forming my opinions. And sometimes I've discovered that I have to just let go and let the depression wash over me. Let it take me for a day. Because the fight is, sometimes the fight against it is so debilitating. It drags out. But I just let it do it for a day. And then the spark comes back. And the thing about depression is, it lies. Depression is a liar. Those grown-up adult concerns that you have, those fears about money, those fears about your kids, those things, those are real concerns. Nobody can say they're not concerns. But depression whispers in your ear and tells you can't handle that. It's like that worm tongue in Lord of the Rings who said things to the king's ear. Depression lies to you. Depression tells you that these concerns are too big for you to handle, and they're not. Depression is a liar, and you have to recognize where responsible concern for your circumstances ends, and depression, which is irrational thinking that you can't handle it, begins. Because the fact is, you can handle it. Sometimes the consequences are not pleasant. That's life. You may not walk away from it perfect. Some people's businesses fail. Sometimes it's good that they fail because it just leads them to a business that they're going to be successful in. Everything in my life that I have feared, like when the small cable company I worked for, was going to be bought by Rogers. I was afraid of what was going to happen to me at Rogers because I could do whatever I wanted. And you know what? I went to Rogers, and they had a very staid corporate culture in their community channel. I didn't listen to their rules. I did things my way. I continued to operate at a separate building, and there was 2 youth shows and 2 entertainment shows that were going up for awards. One was Rogers' Golden Child. In each category, one was Rogers' Golden Child, one was mine. And by mine, I mean my team. In both cases, the shows done the way I wanted to won. Theirs didn't. And all of a sudden, there was maybe some of these rules are just rules to be rules. My wife always says, my wife's a Dungeons and Dragons person. She says, I'm chaotic good. She's lawful good. I'm chaotic good. But I was afraid. But Rogers gave me a bigger platform, more money, and then I went to City. It's the frog in the boiling water. We don't recognize that we're sitting in boiling water because the temperature was increased slowly until we boiled to death. Sometimes the universe, whether it's God or circumstance or whatever, people are stubborn. I'm stubborn. Sometimes the universe has to give me a shove to get me where I have to go because I'm holding on to where I am. And some of that is depression. Some of that is I know what I can handle here. I don't know what I can handle there. The fear of the unknown is one of the greatest fears of human beings. But the people out there who are depressed, that change in your life that you're fearing, it may be the greatest thing that ever happened to you. You don't know it now. You can't know it now. Because all you can see is the ways it can go wrong. There are ways that it can go right that you can't even envision until you're in that spot. There are circumstances and people and things that you can't see until you're there. Just like if you're on one side of the riverbank, you can't see what's 2 miles down in the forest on that side. You can't see it. Life is like going on a river. It has its twists and turns. No river's straight. Sometimes you have to battle rapids, and other times it's smooth sailing. But you have to go through that in order to get where you're going. Yeah. And don't listen to the lies depression tells you. You know, there's that, God never gives us more than we can handle. I think that's bullshit, okay? We have to handle it. And you can handle it. That doesn't mean you're always going to be happy about the circumstances. But there's a difference between being not happy. There's a difference between being sad. There's a difference between feeling grief and being depressed. And you have to know, and there's a difference between being concerned about your future and being depressed about your future. Concern about your future can open up the door to, there's other opportunities I might be able to take. Depression means you don't even look for those other opportunities because you think they're not there. Yep. And don't listen to the lies depression tells you because you can handle it. Like I said, it's not always going to be singing in roses at the end, but eventually it will be. Yeah. Life is like a symphony. There's low notes and high notes. And any symphony, any piece of music played with only low notes or only high notes is not a really good piece of music. So don't believe that you may go through, you have to know the difference between trial and tragedy. And we do have trials in life, and we'll get through them. Anytime something in your head is telling you, this will never get better. Now, I'm not talking about abusive relationships between partners. Those are cases where you do have to make changes. But if something is telling you this will never get better, that is completely irrational. It doesn't even make any sense.
Because you don't know.
You don't know.
You have no idea.
The past is not prologue. The past is the past. Okay? You don't know. I had, recently I was thinking, even during the election, this is going to lead to anything or whatever. And then 22 Minutes calls me out of the blue, CBC show. Says, we want Ed to go do the piece. And they say, we're going to do it again. We want to do it again. And, people say that. You don't know if they're telling the truth. 3 days later, they sent an email. Can you cover this thing in Toronto? And can you actually take a step up and can you edit it and give us the whole package?
Oh, wow.
And that came out of nowhere. And lots of things in life come out of nowhere. But you have to get yourself to that spot, to that nowhere spot for the stuff to hit you. And if you're hiding in your room and hiding in your head, you will never get yourself to that spot.
To be open to the opportunity.
If there's any message I would send depressive people is, you can do this, okay? It may be difficult. Don't be afraid of difficulty. Recognize that difficulty is going to make you sad at times. It's going to make you frustrated. It's going to make you anxious. Those are normal human feelings. But you can get through it to a better place. Anything that's telling you absolutely can't, there is absolutely no hope, there's no way for you to know, sitting where you are, that there is no hope, that it will never get better. I'm not talking about medical conditions.
But it's all the more rewarding, I think, when you've been able to face that challenge.
But you know what the other side of it is? When you've faced it and you've gotten through to the other side and something positive has happened, you need to make that note to yourself. You need to tell yourself there was a point in time when you thought nothing good would ever happen, and something good happened.
There's the evidence to the contrary.
You need people, as human beings, we glance past that. We need to make as big a deal out of the things that went right as the things that went wrong. Because otherwise we're looking at a life where we're not seeing the balance of good and bad. So when you've gone through something and it's turned out better than you thought, that has to stick in your head. You can't just push that aside, okay? And depression helps you push it aside. It just happened. It was just a thing. It's not going to happen again. We don't know the future. We also don't know what other people are thinking. When someone's not returning your phone call, it's not because you're useless and they have no respect for you or something. You have no idea what they're dealing with on their end. Okay, you don't know if they've had a death in the family. Every time I have ever thought that someone wasn't getting back to me and it was about me, it's never been about me. Never once.
We like to make everything about us.
It's
but
not.
It
was never once about me.
Yeah.
And we can't read minds. Don't try to read people's minds. Ask people questions. Don't read minds and assume that what's happening is because that person thinks badly of you because you're a piece of crap.
Right.
Okay? Just stop beating up on yourself. And depression is it's a fist. It's a boot that's constantly kicking your sense of how you get up half an inch and it kicks you down again.
But you can kick back.
You can get back. And you know what? Don't be afraid to go to your doctor and say you have these conditions. Your doctor's not going to laugh at you. Yeah. Most of your friends are not going to laugh at you. Some of your friends are going to say to you, you know what? I'm going through the same thing.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how often that happens.
Yeah.
But go to your doctor. Do not believe people who say these medical drugs that screw with your brain. There are antidepressants which some people tolerate better than others. And so you'll get switched to another antidepressant. There's many families of antidepressants out there that operate differently in the way that they deal with your brain chemistry. Don't give up. Go to your doctor. You're not a loser. None of us are losers. We're not born losers. You can handle whatever is thrown at you. It may make you sad. It may be a setback. It may make you feel discouraged. Discouraged and depressed are not the same thing. Being discouraged is a normal human feeling. But you know what? Try to find the thing that I always did, which for a while when I was recently depressed, I couldn't do. I would have bad news come my way, and it would hit me hard for a little bit. Half an hour later, I'm thinking of how am I going to turn this news or this changed event to my advantage?
Yeah.
How can I take what this is and say, okay, I can make something out of this. Now that this road's closed, I can go on this road. We got to do that. In my view, there is no predetermined course for your life. Okay? You determine the course of your life, and you determine that based on your brain. And it's awful when your brain turns on you. It's awful when there's a brain condition, because if you're in a wheelchair, if you have a handicap like that, a physical challenge, people show you sympathy, and they understand when it's more difficult for you to do things. People who have depression, nobody can tell by looking at you. And so you carry it around in a way that, because you can hide it, you hide it.
Yeah.
Whereas physical things you can't hide.
Yeah.
Don't hide it. You don't have to tell everybody, but when you hide something, you start to think it's shameful. And you start feeling ashamed. And I'll tell you something, one of the most debilitating human emotions is shame. There's times to feel shame when you've done something you should be ashamed of. But most people are ashamed of things they have nothing to be ashamed of, and ashamed of themselves that way. And when you hide depression or mental challenges, whether you realize it or not, you're creating shame in yourself that you actually have this. You're beating yourself up for it. And you didn't ask for this, okay? No. You didn't ask for it. And lots of people out there have it. So get out there, see a doctor. Don't refuse medication based on what somebody who's had a bad experience based on it. Because my wife's a redhead. Her redhead's response to medications is completely different than the rest of the human population.
What?
Yeah, it's true.
Never heard of this
Anesthesiologists hate working on redheads because redheads are completely unpredictable.
Right.
It's a completely different biology. Biodiversity is a real thing. Somebody had a bad experience with an antidepressant doesn't mean you're going to.
Right.
Okay? And choosing to go on medication is not a weakness.
Yeah.
Is it a weakness if you go on a heart medication? Is it a weakness if you undergo cancer therapy? No. So is it a weakness to take medication that can help you balance something in your brain, chemistry and stuff that you didn't ask for? No. And you know what? You should. I look at it as I thank God or the universe that science has created something that can help me and that can help people with this. And turning my back on that, turning your back on this gift that we've been given, this opportunity that people 60 years ago, 70 years ago, even some antidepressants from 30 years ago were damned, the side effects were awful. This is a gift, this medical science that allows us to get past our body rebelling against us like this, our brain telling us things which are a load of crap. Avail yourself of everything that's out there, and you can do it. Bad things might happen. Bad things happen in everyone's life. That's not depression. You can get through it. Don't listen to the voice in your head that is lying to you.
Yeah.
You are able, and this is not a up with people thing, okay?
It's just a
But
fact.
it's just the fact. You can get through it,
Yeah.
but you can't if you listen to the liar in your head.
All right, that's it again on So-Called Normal. That's the rest of my conversation with Steven Kerzner, also known as Ed the Sock. Go check out all the work that he's doing on his FU network, FU Politics in particular, his podcast there, and look forward to all the new content coming from him. You can subscribe to the show over at Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts. You can follow me on social media at Mark Hennick, at MarkHenick, or markhennick.com to learn more about what I do. And one more time, want to thank everybody at E1, Adrian and Kimberly, of course, Dave, our great editor who brings this all together. Thanks for making this possible. It's been great talking to you yet again this week. I'm Mark Hennick, and this has been So-Called Normal.